Where you from? Like, where do you
So
live?
I'm originally from Philadelphia, suburb of Philadelphia, called Havertown, and it was actually just a 15-minute drive into Center City. And as a kid, we used to take the train down to Center City with our bikes. So I grew up until I was 19 in the suburbs. Spent a lot of time in the city and throughout the suburbs. And then I had three friends that went to a college in the middle of Pennsylvania, and I tried it out. I didn't like any of the curriculum that it had going on, so I
Hmm.
went out and went right back to the grind and found a new job and new challenges. In the meantime, I had those three friends that moved out to California when they graduated, and they went to a really small apartment in San Diego. And they said, "Look, if you need a fourth roommate to make rent, let me know." So about a month later, they called me. It was January of 2010. They said, "We need someone to make rent next month. We need a fourth person." It was a two-bedroom with like our beds were like this close together. It was really tiny. They're trying to fit
Uh-huh.
four guys in it. And I had a little small Nissan pickup truck. And I just told my parents I'm going to go to California and I'll be back.
Wow.
In the back of my head, I knew I wasn't going to be back. I was going to do everything I could in my power to keep me out here. So this was 2004, and that was February 2004. I moved out. It's actually Super Bowl weekend of 2004. I'll never forget, and it was great. Uh, it was great to be out in California. I've never been to California before. Never even tried it. I was like, look, let's do it. So right away it was exciting, and then right away it was challenging because I didn't come out with really a plan. I just had that gut feeling that I wanted to do it, and I wanted to make it happen. Whatever it took, I wanted to make it happen. So I got to my place. I got a job. It was a very low paying entry level job just to get my foot in the door. Great, but I couldn't quite rent because San Diego was very expensive, and at the time it still is, especially for 20-year-olds. So um,
That's
it
pretty
was the
cool
first.
you would determine to go out there. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've always been driven by my kind of like the the questions in your mind. I can't have unsolved questions in my mind. That's the big thing. I can't. Maybe it's a bad thing because I can't settle. But I am happy with what I do because that's a challenge. Because a lot of people do these things and they're never happy with the outcome. I will never regret any of the things I've done, but for some reason, I always want more. Not money wise, but I just want more experiences. I want to learn more. I want to grow more. And honestly, what's most important to me is time now, actually. But let's jump back to that. So what I was doing was trying to really gain new experiences in a new place. I was there 20 years in Philly, moved to San Diego, and the challenge was income. So I had an entry level job at actually a local bike shop because I had a little bit of experience with bicycles and restaurants and motorcycles, different retail and restaurant small jobs I had in Philadelphia. So I came to California. I found an entry level bike shop job, and it was good, easy. It enabled me to still go out with my friends and see San Diego. What was really a challenge that I'll never forget was trying to make rent every month, and I had nothing. I had nothing extra. My
Sounds like the
my one
people in New
roommate,
York.
right? I mean, it's rent everywhere, right? Yes, it wasn't probably the best decision at the time to go out that young with no plan and do it, but overall, I made it happen. So what I did was first I started to borrow money from my roommate, and I said I'd pay it back. So middle of the following month, I'd pay him back, and then I'd already be behind for another half a month because I'd been trying to pay him. So I went out and got a credit card, my first credit card. Somebody with a credit card. No one gave me a credit card. I had no credit. Finally got a credit card, and I still have that one. It's my oldest one. You have those ones forever, right?
Yeah, yeah. My
Um,
American Express.
right. So what I did was I had to load it up, and I just focused on paying it off. So I advanced through that low-paying job to a manager position, and was able to pay that card down and really make my footprint in San Diego by the first year end. And we then moved to a new place in San Diego, and I prospered that way. Went through a couple different jobs and different bike shops. Ended up also starting to learn how to be more of a mechanic. And then within that second job, I was a mechanic, turned into a head mechanic. So I advanced pretty quickly there. And then I went on to open a bike shop for a gentleman that was very wealthy. And it was at the time that Katrina happened, if you remember that. And he owned a lot of businesses. He owned a lot of property, rental property in New Orleans. And what it was challenging to him was that the details I can't remember exactly, but he was getting charged a lot more for his property that was underwater. So it was economical for him to start up a business. And if it made money, great. If it didn't, it helped his taxes with the out-of-state property. So he hired me on because he saw I was doing great in some other business for someone else. He brought me on to start a business from scratch with just a vision of how he wanted the bike shop to be. And he had no experience in the bike world. So I went on to open the whole shop from scratch, manage all the inventory, manage the employees, and then work there for a few years to just get everything going. So that was an exciting project. So it was, 2008, 2009-ish time. And then I went on to work at another bike shop, and I managed their operations. What I found with the 6 years of being in San Diego at that time, I was kind of shuffling through different places. I found a challenge with the consumer having issues with the turnaround time and bicycle repair. So I was trying to figure out a solution to that at the time. And it came to be where I had a customer at one of the last bike shops I worked at, and he was so frustrated that he couldn't get his bike repaired. He walked out. I chased him out because that's the kind of person I am. I don't want to make, amends with the person. And I was like, look, what can we do to help you? Whatever it was. And long story short, I said randomly, I was like, I'll just come to your house and fix it. I just want him to be happy. So he said, sure.
Nice.
So that's how my last business started. I ran it for 10 years. It was started as a mobile bicycle repair business. The first year we did it out of the Nissan truck that I drove to California in with a small red toolbox with all the tools I just had. That was it. I just went to people's houses and fixed their bikes. It was a very simple business at the time. And knowing me, if there was one path I could have gone and been perfectly happy with doing that. Knowing me, I did not. I went and built it as big as I could, as big as I wanted to. So I started with the small truck. I raised enough capital by the end of the first year. I got a really big truck, a big box truck I put the whole shop inside of. I drove that around San Diego for another 3 years. And then come 2013, I ventured into getting a brick and mortar. It was a big step, and it was something at the time I was still challenging myself to do something else than bikes. And I like the business. I love business, and I love learning business. And I love the risks and the trials and the errors. I mean, I love it all because I'm not the one to sit in a classroom and learn by book. And the only way for me to learn is to make money or lose money. Right?
You learn by doing.
Right?
Get in it.
I love that there's no rules to that. And that's the big thing. There's no rules. No one's going to tell you it's good or bad. You're going to have comments, and you got to take those to heart because those are going to help you. But at the end of the day, you have that freedom, to just try whatever you want to try. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you do something else. So going back to the brick and mortar, I went and opened up the brick and mortar, and that was the first time I was challenged with employees. I created a small team, and I learned how to walk that fine line of motivation and empowerment. You gotta really empower someone and motivate them, but also you really gotta bring out the best of them. So, no one's perfect, right? And everyone that hires someone wants that perfect person in their mind. I want this perfect person. That's really the challenge with employer and employee. You never get that perfect person, but you have to realize you're not going to get that perfect person. Just like you marry someone,
Yeah.
you need to have the pros and the cons. You have to outweigh them. So it was really exciting and rewarding to learn the employee and learn what they're good at, learn what they love to do, and then make them do that to the best of their ability. And that was really like very exciting. That was most rewarding out of the whole experience. So the employee thing was awesome. I gained a lot of experience with a lot more foot traffic. I worked through retail for since I was 16. So for the last 10 years before that, I was used to that. But doing it on your own and your own process, it was interesting and fun.
Yeah.
I'm big with documentation. So from the start of that brick and mortar, we wrote down every single person that walked in, how they got to know us, where they came from. We documented that. We would document pictures of everyone's bike on Google Docs. We would write down exactly the comments they said when they walked in. We write down, every mechanic was responsible to write down the comments for what happened to the bike when they did it, and if there's any things they recommend for next time. So upsell for next time, right? We had a whole upsell process at the beginning. So the documentation was like super exciting to figure out. I love the organizational process. I
Nice.
love that part because I find a lot of businesses are comfortable with their organization, but it really isn't truly organized for someone to walk in and take the reins. So my goal was always to make it so it was reputable in the sense that I can also repeat it. And if I died tomorrow, I can have someone walk in and complete the job. And that was in a retail setting. It's much easier to do now. I'm doing with businesses online because online, everything's automated. It's on screen. But when you're in a retail location, there is so much more stuff you have to document and the actions you have to do and the things you have to say. And it can't just be written on a screen for someone. So
Yeah.
it was
Like dealing with
really,
customer complaints, bad customers.
yeah.
You know?
And that's and I had a whole template for responses to that, right? So you got to have those ready to go. And with that said, I thought it was the best when someone did have a bad, I would thrive on the bad comments because we were the best reviewed out of everyone in town. So having someone say something bad, I wanted it because there's rarely anybody that said something bad. So it's hard to improve, right? So to improve, you got to have people say what they really feel. So the people that did say how they really feel, I loved. And then I'd respond. And then what's really great about that, I really tell people all the time when I work with them, that you have to be upfront. You have to almost say tough things to each other to get through the initial stage of friendship, right? I mean, your best friends are the ones you fight with the most, right? Your family is the closest to you because you fought with them the most of your life. So when you create this employee connection or you create this customer connection, I love getting them almost edgy, and almost like, I can't believe Stu just said that to me, because it'll get them to think about it. And I might say it, and I don't say it to hurt them. I say it because for some reason it's going to be motivating, but sometimes motivating things aren't positive at the beginning to say. So that was really, I love that part. I love being the devil's advocate and saying stuff, and I want people to do it because I want people to do it to me, especially even example right now, I'm growing my consulting business and I'm starting fresh with by myself. When I had a team in my last business, I was able to bounce ideas off of them. They knew the business. It was easier to say, Stu, that doesn't look right. We can't show it to our customers that way or this way. Great. I'm the owner, and I say or do what I want, but I get more reward from taking the incentives and the ideas from the whole team. So that's why right now I'm trying to get feedback from everyone else that, because now I'm a sole business here and starting over. So it's a whole interesting thing. So the brick and mortar had the inventory aspect, it had the employee aspect. And with those two things, I did see a real interesting change throughout my 20 years in retail. When I started in the 90s, people were loving life. I mean, it was you could make all the money you wanted in the world in retail, right? It was very rare that you,
That's kind of true. Less
right?
competition, especially online competition.
Yeah, I mean, in the mid '90s when I started, there was only like review sites and stuff, but there was no one really selling competitive products to your brick and mortar location.
Right.
Um, and through my experience and then owning my own business in the past 10 years, looking at that data, I was doing lots of cool and interesting things with the inventory. I was bringing in inventory that they wanted. I also capped it at a certain price point because the margins were just really poor after that. And so I honed in on the target there. But what I found was everything I tried, you still had twice as many people bringing in stuff online that they bought. And that was cool. We said bring it in because other shops wouldn't allow it, so we got their business. But it still didn't help. The challenge with that business that I saw from the outside, because I wasn't married to it, right? I'm more of a businessman than a bike guy, So what I saw from the data over the years, every year after, our labor dollars are always improving. The inventory sales was always a challenge. Even if you brought in bikes, like I tried, that margin is so much lower. So now you're dealing with this other product that causes a lot more labor to get it going, and then you have to include all this free stuff with it, free service when you get it. You don't really gain that benefit. So that industry, it has a lot of growing pains. The brick and mortar, I believe, in that industry, the brick and mortar is basically dead unless you are the king of town. For instance, if you ever heard of two big names as Trek and Specialized, those guys run the brick and mortar situation all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
The other people that are going to thrive is the one-man shows. If you want to be a one-man mechanic in that industry, you're going to be fine, because that's it. That's all it's good. I was at a position where I was right in the middle. I was not a one-man show. I had a small team, and I didn't want to compete with the big guys. I didn't find it interesting to me to be at that level, and I knew they were doing that great. I was doing something different, but it was still challenging because I had employees that were costing me more every year to be in California, small team, and then no one at the end of the day, there's a cap that someone wants to pay for their labor on a bicycle. You can't, and we were trying to charge car prices. You can't charge car prices. You can't charge like an electrician. You can't charge like a plumber. It would be great if you could, but I had a guy on my team that I've known forever, and I wanted to pay him a lot more than he was, and the business couldn't afford it. And that was a challenge for me. Like, how would I keep this guy entertained for his whole entire life in this job where it's not paying him what he should be paid? I knew he was better than that. So I had a challenge with employees, growing costs, customers not wanting to pay enough for that growing cost. The other side was the inventory. The margins were shrinking because of the e-commerce, and it was simple as that. I mean, there's two services, service and parts, and those are the two things both challenged. So I did some cool stuff, and honestly, I could have stayed in that business forever in the size I was at, and I would have made it work with just the labor. But it wasn't interesting to me anymore. I did what I could do. I got to the point where I could. I owned that 100% of the business through the whole 10 years and did it all with my own money by using, this is an interesting part, by using 0% credit cards, okay? So I started with 0% credit card to finance the truck build out. It was like $3,000 or $4,000. I paid it off. I got another 0% card. And I started to load up the 0% cards to the point where I was, it was only like, it was either balance transfer, or I got to the point where I was able to do free purchases and then pay off the other balance separately. So it was, I learned how to financially juggle all the credit cards I had. I had about, I always had 10 or 15 cards open at the same time. And I would shuffle to the point where certain quarters, I was able to apply for another one, right? You got to wait because they hit your credit.
Okay.
Credit goes down. So you'd wait at a
Interesting.
certain point, but you'd have to wait because some cards were, 0% for 18 months and then some were 12. So you have to figure out those quarters correctly. So
Yeah.
that was a fun aspect of it. I also handled all my bookkeeping for the 10 years. I learned a lot about bookkeeping through QuickBooks. I learned all the tricks that I could do in QuickBooks Online, which they're starting to figure out now. So they're blacking out some of the tricks you could have done before.
Ah.
But that goes to saying, just I had a lot of hours, a lot of man hours learning QuickBooks Online. I like it. I like because I find another thing is that small businesses give away or small businesses outsource that service too often, and they outsource it too early in their business,
Yeah,
and
they
they don't
really should
understand,
learn it.
right? It's not hard, because you're making the purchases. It's harder for the bookkeeper because they don't know the purchases. You know
Right.
where you're purchasing. So I find very early in the process, I know a business right now. It's only a couple years into it. They've already outsourced their bookkeeping, or even their profit and loss. They're not even looking at their profit and loss even every week. Even I looked at it every day, but even at the beginning, you want to look at that all the time and figure out where you're losing and where you're making money, and catch that early. So I was big on that, and so I love the bookkeeping. And then finally, what I'm really focusing on now, because I could do all those sorts of things. I could do the inventory, I could do the bookkeeping, I could do the management of people. I love the people. I love talking to people and being like the mediator. But really, what I could do all these things, and I kind of went back to the drawing board with this new business because now that I found that the pandemic came, I was able to close doors. I was never able to close doors before. And I had a chance to close the doors, and I thought the day I closed the doors, March 20th, no, March, what was it, March 28th, I think California shut down. They said everybody shut down. I closed the doors. I thought I would sit down on the floor and cry, right? I was going to just sit there
Wow.
and be like, and you know what? I felt a weight off my shoulders. It was like, this is it. I have a chance to finally, because the business was busy. I had a lot of people coming through, but the margins weren't there. I didn't want to do it, right? I wanted to find an industry that was prospering, and talk to people that are industries that are prospering. And I love the bikes. I would love to get into an e-commerce bike business, right? That business is not really a thriving business. So it just came to me. I was like, this is not where I want to be. I started this business 10 years ago. Um, Mistake one, I never made an exit plan. So I thought about that currently.
Mm.
And that exit plan, now I thought about that exit plan is going to be, how to get out of it in the sense that I can walk away from it, clean. And there was no time I could ever just like one day close the doors. And now the world closed, and I was like, whoa, uh, this is my
Opportunity.
time, right? This is my time. So again, gut feeling like moving to California. I didn't second guess it. I mean, a lot of people that know me think I'm crazy because it was making money, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So that was it. That's all I needed. I don't need to hear anybody else's opinion. I left. I closed doors. In that business, it doesn't sell for much because of that industry. I mean, there's proof right there that you can't sell the business for much more than what the tangible items are worth. It's not worth much more than that. That's what the business is, unlike tech companies or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was more profitable to me. I just ripped the whole place apart and liquidated everything. And I kept my contacts because I had 6,000 contacts. I don't want to give those away. Those people trust me, and I'm slowly going to talk to them, reach out to them. I've already have a handful of them I continue to talk to right now, but I'm going to slowly connect with them again. But point is I started to regroup, and I found out that the most beneficial thing I did for that business and the thing I can give back to other businesses and be paid for the expertise for it is how I built that business from nothing into a staple in the community. Sales and marketing was big for me. I like putting my face out there. I like to just talk. I like to connect. I like people to trust each other, and the business comes from that. You don't sell. You trust each other first, then you sell. right? So
More
that
of a people's
mentality,
person.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I've always been. I've always been a talker. I've always been someone that I can connect with. I never met someone I couldn't connect with. As long as they wanted to connect, I can do it. So I like that aspect. I'm not a, and I'm not a, I always class myself not as a salesman, because the salesmen are more particular on what they want out of the situation. Whereas that's not my goal at all. Usually my goal is to connect with them. If I don't connect with them, then I don't really want the sale. You know, the salesman will make the sale if they connect them or not. And that's the way the world's changing. You know, people sense that now, and they know that. And my mentality is starting to be adapted more and more. I just see a lot of businesses still on the back end of that. So I'm trying to get my foot in the door and help these other businesses out in that situation. So with all those aspects of running that business for 10 years and learning everything from nothing, I feel like my most value is the sales and marketing, and really just the creative ways to just be yourself, right? I
Right.
mean, you just gotta put yourself out there and be vulnerable, and be humble, and just connect, and bring that emotion. Emotion is what sells, really, right?
Absolutely. Wow, it's a lot of interesting stuff. So the bicycles, you weren't, you was just doing the repairs on the bicycles and selling parts, or were you selling bicycles as
Yeah,
well?
towards the end, yes, I was doing repair and parts for 9 years. That 2019, 2018, 2019-ish.
Uh-huh.
I was starting to think about how to get out of it, out of the business, and do something else. At that time, I was like, look, I haven't sold bicycles yet. Let's do it, right? Let's try it. And I picked a niche market that kind of was needed in San Diego. It was just like entry level bikes. There's a lot of entry level bike shops left. So let's just get some entry level bikes between the Walmart quality and the high end quality. That was it. So we got a nice little showroom together. We were selling a few, but again, that was the issue. The margins were the least amount on those bikes, caused the most time to get those bikes going. You made more on the accessories, but most of the time people were walking out and buying accessories online. So there you go.
That
It's
is
like,
true. That is
you know,
true. So after
that's
that,
it.
um, co- um, COVID happened. So when COVID happened, that's when you was able to close the doors around March, and then you regrouped, reorganized, and then came up with a business consulting, correct, for marketing.
Yeah, it was, well, it's been 4 months, and the first month, what I did was, I tackled the first thing I wanted to do that I wanted to do for a long time, which was computer programming.
Oh,
So
nice.
uh, I didn't, I didn't, I didn't learn it to be, um, let's just say, I tackled computer programming to learn the fundamentals because I wanted to know how it worked. I'm all about like building stuff. The bikes and the cars and everything. The computers are one thing I've always loved, and it's always been a mystery to me how the software programs are built, and how the syntax is written, and the stuff that has to be done. Algorithms. I learned all about different things about that. So I took April and I learned the fundamentals of Python language, which is one of the most popular languages out there. And after that, I really liked it. I have a really happy feeling towards math. I like math. Uh, I did up to calculus in school. I never went into theories and stuff because I didn't advanced that much, but I do love the math part, and I found it was a lot of that. And it was a lot of problem solving. I play a lot of chess, so it was another problem solving, like fun activity for me. In April, I was trying to progress into like an entry level position in coding and programming. What I found was it is a very saturated market right now for the programmers as beginners. I talked to a couple CEOs in tech firms. They're really looking for high skilled programmers right now. There's a lot
Yeah.
of low skill programmers.
Someone
That's
with
fine.
10, 15 years of experience in certain niche programs that no one really creates anymore.
Right. Right. or like 15 years in a program that was only been created for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um,
So,
it's a programming joke you see all the time, So April was a programming month, and I learned how to do fundamentals of programming. And then I said, what facet of programming could I possibly get into, or like more than the other? Because there's a bunch of different ways you can go. So I like the data science part. It was my friend that does programming said, hey, you got to look at data science, the new thing. Been out for about 5-6 years as more of a profession. It's been done for many, many years, but attached to the programming world, it's been very common, very growing, fast growing industry, which is data science and data analysis. And there's a lot of jobs around that. There's only, like right now, I think less than 5% of businesses use data analytics and predictive analysis for their business right now. I think in the next 10 years, by 2030, I believe half. I'm gonna just say 50%. Right now, I'll say it on video. I think 50% of businesses by 2030 will be using business intelligence tools and predictive analytics to really hone in on their future goals. Right now, they have budgets and they have analysts and they have people doing that job. They have maybe teams. But now with machine learning, it's so fascinating that you can just import all your data and it's going to spit out the next 365 days of your financial status or the products you have in inventory, right? Or maybe your customer database of customers, when they're going to come back, how much they're going to spend. You can really attach it to the machine learning can be attached to anything now. They're attaching it to like your automated sales funnels. You can now predict when they're going to open it, how they're going to open it, how long they're going to be on it. Anything you can attach this machine learning to. So it's all in the news. So you feel like it's all over the place, but only a very small portion of businesses are using it. So I wanted to get into that. So I signed up for another curriculum through May that taught me more of the different platforms. So like Power BI. Or some other ones that I actually learned the basics of through that plan. And then also it touched on the fundamentals of programming for the financial world. It also touched on for the tech world. It did all these sorts of things in different places and different niche that really just showed you what they're using that programming for. So it's really fun to see how they've taken just basic syntax of code and you can add it to anything you want now. So within April, I learned the code, fundamentals, I should say. And then April, May, I learned the data science world. And then by June, I said, look, I'm in a position where I'm more valuable in the business world, right? I love talking to people. I would sit behind a computer all day coding, but right now I'm more beneficial in challenging businesses to be better. So I realized through my research in June that there's so many businesses out there, apps, I should say apps. There's a lot of apps out there that will solve anything that I need to be done. So for instance, I learned about data science to the point where you can take 3 years of your past data and import it into a program that you have to create now, and it'll spit out your financial status for the next year. I didn't want to create it myself. I found someone that has already created it on a platform, and I did it, and I could do it for other businesses now. I could take their 3 years of data, and I could just import it to this program, and it'll be one report, but for free, I can show them exactly how the machine thinks they're going to be in the next 365 days. It's a really cool tool that a lot of businesses aren't using, and I found it for free, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, very cool. And the guy's, it's an open source platform. The guy's more than happy to give it for free, but he's just starting, so it's not highly advertised. It's not out there for people to use. But again, this is like so new, so I'm trying to get people behind it. So so with that finding of just that simple program, I started to find other programs. So for instance, I wanted to research a company that I was starting to work with. And without asking them for their credentials, I wanted to scrape, they call it scrape the internet for all their data and what stuff they have out there. There's a programs out there, free to use, that you can scrape all that stuff off and download it down into a CSV file and analyze it that way. So you can do these things in an automated way that you can do the things that I wanted to do manually. They're already done for you. It's 2020. You know, if I did this 3 years ago, I think even just 3 years ago, it would have been a challenge to get this, to find these small software companies doing these. So it's now 2020, and everybody is making every sort of program you possibly want. So I haven't been in a situation in the past couple of months that I haven't found a platform that won't solve the problem I'm trying to solve, right? And if I can't, I have actually found one situation, but I reached out to that company and said, look, I like your product, but can it do this other thing? And they said, yeah, you know what? Let's get it to do that other thing. So, you know, and because these companies are trying to get out there, right? So, and these are the companies I want to help. I think these small companies, them out there, and they needed to figure out exciting and free ways to market. So June was that exciting month of finding out. It's more of, I call it the low code or no code month. They call it no code generation. So you can, there's a lot of platforms out there to, basically I created a chatbot from a website. So I think the future is, you know, interaction. You know, the static website is pretty much dead, and you're going to have more interaction. You know, you're going to, you know, rate your website or have someone pop up really quick and ask you how you're doing. It's a technology that's coming along, but I found a chatbot website platform, free at the moment, very cheap for their paid plans, but I was able to implement a chatbot on my website. And the goal of the chatbot was to try to get people to sign up for a chat, right? Or actually it has a whole conversation lined up where I can chat to them about how their business is going right now. So it was cool to have that platform. I found also heat maps. You ever heard of heat maps for websites? So it was really cool to see, like,
like where their mouse goes and where they focus most of their attention.
Yeah, and in the past they were pretty expensive, you know, and now there's so much competition that you find the ones for free, and you can, you know, have a new website I'm trying to put out there, and it's really good to see how people are scrolling through what they're clicking on. And it got me to already change one thing, because people aren't going to do what I want them to do, which is just tell me how they feel, right? So you have to just basically spy on them. So to spy on them through your website, you can look at a heat map. So all this technology I wanted to do on my own, I was like, man, it's already done. You know, I don't have to do it. I just have to use my knowledge of business and put it all together for these people, you know, in a package. So that was June. Then July, through June, I talked to a few past customers through the bike shop, and they were just interested in what I was doing. And customer to customer to customer, I found a guy that actually has created his own business intelligence software that focuses on using predictive analysis, predicting the inventory levels for Amazon and Shopify sellers between 1 million and 50 million in sales a year. Because he was a CEO of a $20 million business, and he found that in that size business, even though it sounds like a lot of income, there's not any extra room to hire an internal business intelligence specialist. And that's the reason why only less than 5% of companies are using this software or this technology, because this technology, like Power BI that Microsoft offers, is a blank screen. You know, it's like getting Microsoft Word, and you're like, here, Microsoft Word's going to create content. It doesn't create content. It's just a content platform. So this is so he created a business intelligence platform that you don't have to do. So Amazon and Shopify sellers can get onboarded, and all they do is give us, because I'm working for them right now, they give us their data, and we do all the data work, you know, all the elbow grease, and get that data all cleaned up, because anyone will tell you there's not a single company that has clean data out there. So all data has to be figured out. So cleaned up, and then the next time they pull up that screen, our platform, their data's in there, and it gets, and then we have a customer upload portal. They can continue to upload their reports every month. or whenever they want, and it'll continue to show those are current reports, and then those future inventory levels. It'll show you overstock for the next 365 days, the understock, what orders need to be at the fulfillment center at Amazon, in 30 days, or what order you need to make today to make sure you're not out of stock. It's 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is. It's fascinating. It's a killer technology, and this is exactly what I was trying to do on my own, and just learn how to do it. But here I am, more beneficial in the sense that I've found someone that's created it, and I'm more beneficial as an asset to get that name out there. I'll tell you firsthand, I'm not the best marketing and salesperson in the world, but I know what it takes, right?
Right.
And a lot of marketing sales people want to just do the talk and not actually do it. I'm more of a doer than talking. It's like I said, I like to talk, but I'm going to be the one that gets down and do the business. So I proved, because I created a business from scratch myself. A lot of consultants never did that themselves. So having that experience, kind of brought me on to this position. So I'm really excited. This is my first client in this position to really grow my asset as this position, and more sales and marketing for him. And then also learn this platform that he has, which is really exciting. He was a consultant for 15 years. So it's also a new exciting challenge for me to learn how to communicate with him, because the last thing he wants to do is take, advice from someone like me that's just getting started. But again, like I tell him all the time, every consultant has a consultant, or every coach has a coach,
Right.
every
Absolutely.
massage therapist has a massage therapist. You have to
Yeah,
talk. You have to,
there's shoulder hurts too every now and then.
yeah, right. So, that's the thing. So you have, and he realizes that, and he's a smart man, very smart, and I'm really honored to be in a situation where I can gain insight from him, in that light too, because we're basically learning from each other, in that way. So, so that was the pandemic, pandemic March, for programming, April, data science, May, and June was no code, and July was business consultant. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So with all that being said, so it seems like, are you still taking programming on the side and just
Uh,
see what
I'm,
you can develop on your own? Or was that just for you to experience, to get a know-how of how programming works to lead
uh,
you into consulting?
yeah, good question. I'm still doing it because I find that some of those answers that I can't find with platforms that have been created, I have to go on to open source platforms and find, all what I've from programming. I've learned that all the programs out there are open. Many of them, I should say, are open source. Even Facebook, has open source code to learn what they're doing. So what I found was, if I can't find what I want, I know how to read these platforms now, which is exciting, to then copy their code and then change it in a way that I want to change it. So I am continuing to learn, because I do like that aspect. It is going to get slowly automated to the point where you don't need to, but it is really fun to, I learned how to do an API. I learned how to do a user interface. I did learn how to do these basic tasks. That was something I always wanted to do. So I do as more of a hobby now, because I'm still going to want to continue to grow it, and I like to talk to programmers. So the more I know,
Right. You could speak their language.
yeah. So I read all the news that's coming out, because that's easy to do. And then, I like to, I have a lot of, I actually I like Facebook groups, for that sense that I can be in a programming group and I can just see what they're talking about, So you just see what they're communicating about, what problems they're having. So I like to be up in that. And then plus, if I'm going to stay in the tech industry, which I love to do, if this company works out and I continue to progress that way, I would love to, communicate with the programmers, because a lot of the challenges I read on the group pages is that you have these programmers that can't communicate with their management. So I would love to be in a sense that I can talk their lingo, but also communicate with the management department. So again, that would be another asset that I can bring to the table. So yes, I'm totally going to continue to learn programming and data science even more. I find data science even more fascinating. Um, to keep me entertained and to keep me on it, I sign up for all the newsletters that people put out there for programming, the data science professionals and the experts, because they're the ones putting out that content. This one blog that I read all the time puts out so much good content that I feel like I'm already, um, on the forefront of it. At least knowing what's out there, knowing the new programs that are out there.
That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah, I think that's good news. I read. I like the news I read,
It's in,
Yeah.
with you learning programming and with you piecing these other programs together. Are you planning to create your own software, your own program?
Yeah, I don't know if I would be. I don't know if I'd be personally programming my own software. I think I would love to design one. Um, for example, my last business, my organizational desire to just do everything, that everything has a place. I did create a software program, not by myself. I had a programmer do it, but I designed it because I was using QuickBooks for their estimate and invoice and sales receipts and for their inventory. But they weren't a. This is a good one. Um, they weren't a POS system. QuickBooks is not a POS system. It's an accounting software. Here's the challenge I had. Every platform that was POS system wanted to give me reports in not accrual but cash basis. So, at the end of the day, I only saw what I sold. And in a repair business, you don't really want to know what you sold. You want to know what your guys did that day. So, that week, for instance, I would give a bonus. And if, they finished that much, great, they get a bonus. But if it got paid, yesterday, today, tomorrow, it doesn't matter. It's a bonus on what they did. So repair shops needed that. I found, surprisingly, every repair, like I found like a computer repair platform, everything, like any repair, watch repair, whatever repair platform I found that was a POS system was still cash basis. It was crazy. I couldn't figure out how to find one that was going to report the reports I wanted. So I had to stick with QuickBooks because QuickBooks is the only one that you could pick cash or accrual. So what I did was, okay, I was still stuck with QuickBooks, which was not a bad thing. They're a great platform, but their inventory process was horrible. So I had a friend that was a programmer. I traded him bike parts and stuff. And what we did was we created a really cool platform that used QuickBooks API and pulled all the information from my inventory. And I was able to create really fast inventory labels. So for my bills that I created in QuickBooks, I would import that bill number into our app, and it would spit out all the sales stickers, and I put them all on the parts. That was our first app. The second app we did was called the in-house. So when the guys come in the beginning of the day, QuickBooks had an issue with reports of showing what order the estimates were in. So my guys were always like, what's really first? What's next? I'm like, this sucks. So we created a platform. Our second app was called the in-house. So for instance, it was 4 sections. One was green, said what needed to be worked on right now. One was yellow, meaning what was waiting on us, so parts or whatever. And then red was waiting on the customer. So usually it was like a prospect, or they, got sold online, but they haven't brought their bike in yet, like on an email or something like that. And then the final box was a completed project. So on one screen, we could see the actual physical amount of bikes we had in the shop at that time. And it was pulling the information all the time from QuickBooks. So we designed a QuickBooks estimate that had all of our information that would populate that platform. So we had the sticker printer, we had the in-house. The next one we created was ordering, because the ordering process was really difficult when I was at home with my kids or something like that, and I wanted to order like a Sunday night and get it over with before Monday came. It was hard to just double check it was hard to double check with QuickBooks what inventory you had in stock, because QuickBooks does not take it out of stock if it's an estimate, but the bike, the actual physical project, was in the shop and the product was already pulled from the wall. So you couldn't tell that you needed that product because QuickBooks didn't tell you that, but it was already accounted for because it's in an estimate, and it won't account it until it's converted to an invoice. So I had my friend again create a third app that was one sheet that showed everything that was possibly parts need to be ordered, and I was able to go through and check them off and show where they were ordered and what order number they were, and then it also showed me a column of it showed me the part and then 3 numbers, what actually was in stock, and then how many is needed for this project, and then how many is needed for the whole shop, right? So it was one popular item, I would need 1 for this bike, but I might need 10 of those for 10 other bikes on estimates. So we never were out of an inventory item because we always were ahead of it because we were ordering before the estimate went into an invoice. So that was our third inventory process. This is kind of a fun project. And then the last one was actually the final one, and it was a seamless progress of how to take a customer from walking in the shop and complete the estimate process. We had a lot of upgrades and a lot of things to talk about, and we created a program for that. So there was 4 different apps that we tied together. Answering your question, answer your question. I would love to make that public and bottle that up and package it up and offer it to other people that have either a pair and they can manipulate the last app we created, which was more specific to writing up bicycles. But the first 3 were all specific to just a repair business. So having those platforms created now is really cool, because I would love to have gain the experience to create that and publish it so people can actually download it and use it for themselves. So to answer your question, long story short, is yes, I would love to get into more of the designing of the platforms. I've used, over my lifetime, both of us have used a lot of platforms, but I like the interaction, and I like where it's going now. I like that the technology is there, that we can be interactive, and I think that there's a lot of room to grow. And with my experience in retail, I think it's a lot of good things to take from retail to put into the e-commerce world. It's not separate anymore. You got to take that retail experience and retail feel, right? You take that retail feel and get it into the computer and have people feel it. So I would love to design programs. I would love to be on the forefront of companies and helping them with the marketing and sales and say, look, the marketing came back and, they don't like this, and this. Let's figure out how to change it and, be on that team to help change it. So yeah, I would love to create them for myself, create them from scratch. I don't think it's effective.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, at this point.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with reaching out. Let's say you have your go-to-market program, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with you already have your go-to-market program. But if someone was to pull you to the side and say, "Hey, Stu, can you make this, or can you make this happen?" And next thing you know, you're like, "Yeah," and then you get with your guys and and say, "Hey, look, let's put this together, put that together," and reach out to these other programmers that are out there and make it work. Because it seems like your love for data from the bicycle company just pulls in how you like data so much. And then, you take that concept and you're like, hey, company such and such, let me see what I can do for your data, to help you out.
That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. I find it's easier to talk about marketing and sales. Like I can talk about everything. I can talk about employees. I could talk about, all aspects of the business. What I found was, me being more mental about it, I think it's easier to attract a business if you talk to more about their marketing and sales first, and kind of gain, gaining their trust. Where it's
until you start talking about sales, you got their attention.
Right? It's harder to gain their traction when you're like, let me see your expenses, right? It's like I don't want to take you my expenses. I don't want to show you my profit and loss. But if you start to just talk about sales and marketing and get them to trust you in that sense, okay, here's your stuff, let's get that going, and then you get that going, they trust you that you know what you're doing, you can gain some ground, and you can really gain some traction with their business. Then when you're like, hey, look, I noticed this, and this. I think we're losing money here. Can I take a look? You know, that I think that's the way in, and I think that's the more lucrative place to be. But for now, because I would love to look for losses in businesses. Those holes are great. I love looking for that. So looking at data, I love looking at data. But
Right.
I'm a people person too. So starting with the people and gaining trust with everyone, talking to the team, you know, even just finding out the team's not happy with this or the team's not happy with this. I'm not even getting to the marketing and sales yet. I'm just trying to figure out those communication errors, because you can't really sell the brand if the whole team's not on board. So I find that that's a big issue too. So really getting teams on board in the same sense. So I think the external part of the business, which is sales and marketing, is easier to promote as more of a the best asset, you know, for them to take from me. So they can really just grasp it, bring it, you know, take it in. It's easy to take in. It's easy to give them results for sales and marketing, in a sense that I can already show them their holes, you know, in, you know, maybe their website or their attraction to the customer, or just simply different content. So it's easy to look at, whereas their expenses, they're hidden, right? They're not public, and it's hard to talk to business about that if you're not trusted. So that was my twist on it, where I think I would love to get in the data part, but let's start with the sales and marketing first, right?
Okay.
Let's just, you know, really get that customer flowing in and get that customer loving you for life. Now let's get down to where you're losing money, you know, gaining money. You know?
Right. But
So,
even marketing is starting to be more data, because if you don't know your market and the data that comes from the marketing itself, you know, you losing out on sales and you losing out on customers as well. So
right. Right. I think like I told another business recently, like the heat map. You know, not a lot of business owners know about a heat map. So just simply telling about a heat map and how they can implement it for free is already, you know, a nice trusting tutorial for them. You know, here, take this. It's free. I'm just giving it to you. You know, and then right away they're like, holy crap! You know, Stu gave me this really cool technology. I had no idea. What else has he got? You know, so just there is cool. You know, just to do those kind of sorts of little things is right away is kind of good to gain a little traction. So yeah, I mean, the marketing is big, and then sales is, you know, I can do that in my sleep, because you just, as long as you can get someone in front of you, you know, it's the marketing that goes good to get someone in front of you, you know. So
absolutely.
yeah,
So with that being said, what kind of businesses do you work with, or willing to work with? Like, what kind of businesses want to deal with?
yeah, good question. So anything, I'm very common with the outdoor space, right? So bicycles, motorcycles, I did for a little while. Anything outdoorsy, I find it's very easy to market outdoor stuff. I like the tech world even more. I think there's a lot more lucrative places to be, even though more people are getting into it day by day. There's a greater number of people getting online than the people getting into the industry. So as much as you hear about the flooded industry, um, I don't think about that, because I look at the numbers of the people that are getting on the internet these days, and
Right.
it's just baffling. So I would love to be in the tech industry, in the sense where there are so many companies out there that are starting from nothing, and there's like tons of startups, that it's almost like throwing in a lottery ticket to as much as you can. So if you get in the foot in the door to these small places that need the help right now, and you give them some assets, and give them something to work with, and you actually help them, then if they do grow, then you're in, right? If they fall off the charts, then it was a loss. But it's really, I like that risk, you know, and that's what I've done my whole life. I love the risk. I love the gut feeling. Um, I don't gamble, because I couldn't, but I love
This is your
gambling.
gambling.
Yeah, I love this is my gamble, right? I mean, this is how I gamble. I love the risks. It's the only way to feel alive, in my sense. I love it. If I see life going down the same old road, I can't do it. I have to do something different. So I love the tech world in that sense, because there's always something coming out new, and there's always 10 people doing it, and one of those people or two of those people need help, like a lot of help, just getting their name out there, because they're usually programmers and they're not sales guys, or or there's something else and they need some
Right.
help. And a lot of it is revenue contracts. So you get a couple revenue contracts going, and the ones that take off, great. You just need one to really take off. The tech world is so fascinating that it is a lottery ticket. You only need one good one. So you throw your name around there. You try to get in the door to a bunch of them and help them do a lot of the things that I'm good at. And it's a long game. So I like the bicycles. I like that stuff. There's nothing wrong with the bicycles. It's hard to be lucrative in it. I'd be challenged to accept a job in the bike world because of how I know the industry's going in that sense. I am more fascinated with the tech world. But also, I think I would be really beneficial in a position where, like businesses, for instance, manufacturing. I like manufacturing businesses. I think they're also very technical. But again, like I love technical. I love building things. So I like that. Like I like the manufacturing of a product. And again, you'll find like little companies making these small products out of a 3D printer, right? So
Yeah,
they're like a small manufacturing company out of their garage, and they need traction with sales and marketing. So
that's true.
and there's a lot of robotics coming out. I'm a lot of on a lot of pages of Facebook groups that are just for robotics, because again, it's part of the tech world, but a whole different thing. It's a whole different group of people and a whole different mindset and a whole different computer language. So they're doing fascinating things too. And again, they are more technical than even the software developers, because these guys are actually creating physical robots, and their mind has to be, not just a screen. They're creating things that move along with program. They got a very fascinating mind. So I'd love to work with these people because they're brilliant. And just to really, the fun thing about that is when you find someone brilliant, they have a challenge with communicating their objective or their mission to the audience. So if you bring someone like me that's just going to talk very basic to someone and say, listen, this is what it's for and this is who it's for, that's a huge asset to them. Just getting their message out in a very plain English way. So the tech world, encompassing the robots and all the things that go along with that. I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to try to follow. Along with, I would love to really, another thing I like to do is actually try to get on a team that actually is a consulting firm. I would love to actually learn from other consultants. Like again, I love having someone mentor me. I'd love to have a coach throughout my whole life. I have had mentors through my whole 10 years in the last business, and I still have those same mentors. Those mentors are huge. I would like to just learn from, shadow consultants that have been doing it for 20 years, and they're going to tell me things that I would have to figure out myself,
Right.
it take a very long time. So if I was able to even just volunteer my time and get my foot in the door in a consulting agency, and I was able to just do the grind work, whatever they need me to do, just to understand what needs to be done in a bigger production like that, as a full consulting firm. I would really be really enjoying that whole new knowledge of learning how that works. So even just simply another consulting firm, just helping them, that's it. And that would grow my knowledge. It would help. It would actually be a free school for me, in that sense. But industry wise, I love the tech industry. I think that's the one thing I'm going to follow mainly.
When you say the
And
tech industry, like, is that for the ones that are getting into e-commerce, those tech industries,
yeah,
or?
e-commerce e-commerce, like business intelligence software, like this project I'm working on right now is
Mhm.
specifically business intelligence for e-commerce. But for instance, uh, there could be other situations where they just create a solution to a simple problem, and it's a simple app, and then you just need to figure out how to get their name out there. So anything that includes a platform that someone built with code, I would love to help. because I know those people that are building that code are technicians and they need help with just laying out their idea. They're brilliant people, but they think in a different way, you know.
Right.
So any technician I could help, any technician, because I've been I am a technician too, but more so the business side. I like the people part better than the technician part, but I need to know how it works. It's just how I am. So
Right.
I will be a technician before that. So yeah, anything tech world is like anything that that is in the computer, anything physically hardware, any hardware, or even the other second industry, I should say. Now that I thought about it, second industry would be aftermarket automotive parts. Aftermarket automotive is big, and on
Yeah.
the side as a hobby, I like to race a car, a very small car. I like to go to a local racetrack, and I have a big community of people that go there, and we all go together. And there's a lot of companies out there that are selling a lot of cool stuff for cars aftermarket, and there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have,
And there's people out there that will spend big bucks for that.
yeah,
Just to
yeah,
get a little bit of an edge.
right. And even just there's that for the racing world, but there's also like just to make your car look good down the street,
Yeah.
right? Wheels, whatever. So there's a lot of small companies out there making cool stuff for cars, and they need to gain traction. So again, they could be technical or engineers. Engineers always need sales and marketing because engineers are different minds. So having someone engineered something for a car that's aftermarket, I would love to get in and help them get it out to the world. So that's another passion of mine is the aftermarket world, aftermarket car, automotive world, and the tech world. I think those are the two big things that would be fascinated in.
Yeah.
There's other parts. I'm not going to keep the doors closed on that. There's other. I would say if someone came in with like a healthcare business and they wanted to figure out how to find more older clients or something like that, I'd say yes.
Yeah. I
I
mean, that's
mean,
what consultants do.
right?
They make it work.
So but at the end of the day, I would dream of just having a few tech companies to work with, and then a few automotive companies to work with, and that would be great. The main goal is not really to be rich or any richer than I was before. The main goal is from the challenge I had with the last business of growing it to have time with my family was now my goal, and I could see it, is that I only need a handful of customers, a handful of ongoing clients to allow me to have that time with my family that's just all the money in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I have two little kids that are in preschool. I want to see them grow up. I had two loving parents. They worked a lot because that's just what you have to do. I wanted to make it, I wanted to be in this position where I could see them more if I had money or not. So I just need to create a name for myself enough that I have a handful of clients that I make happy, and that's it. I don't need to make a lot of money in this business. I really just want to please a handful of people throughout the year and keep them going. And that would allow me to continue to raise my kids. My wife works full time as a nurse at the local hospital. Another side reason that's why we closed down right away, because she was helping the COVID patients. So she's continued to work through this whole thing. And that's allowed me to be home with the kids. And I'm actually the primary parent now for the kids. And I love it. I actually love it. So yeah, right. So, and it's good, it's really good. It's, you see kids grow up, it's, you only live once. So that's worth more than anything in this world. So just that right there was enough power and incentive for me to get this going to the point where, look, all I need is a handful of people to make happy, and I'm good. I can do my racing on the weekends. I can see my kids. We can go on vacation. That's it. Simple. Simple life. And if it goes bigger than that, great. But I'm not going to make it some crazy goal. I want to be realistic, and money is not like the end goal. It's time.
Yeah.
Time. That one thing and time is everyone's time. They've chased the money, but they really want the time. And when you chase money too long, you actually get sick of it. And, you know, when you chase time, you never really get sick of time. So I'm out for the time, and that's worth $1 million to me. So
No.
that's my goal with this whole business. You know, and not just to like have these clients to sit there so I can do my own thing. It's so I can focus, you know, specifically on these, you know, just small group of people, and really hone in on what they need to do, and then I could turn it off and do what I need to do for my personal life. That's what that's like a huge like enlightenment I had from when it shut down. You know, the whole shutdown really made me rethink everything.
Yeah.
And
Plus, it was an opportunity for you.
yeah, because it was a huge opportunity. So I took it. I took it and ran. And the gut feeling's been great. And, you know, I'm still through that whole changeover position, and it's going to be like that for the next couple of years. I like to tell people it was a marriage that, you know, when you're in a business, it's a marriage. You know, you're married to it.
Oh
And
yeah.
when you're married to someone for that long, for instance, 10 years, or even dating someone for 10 years, or even a dog for 10 years, you know, you're going to have that attachment to that thing for a while, you know, and no matter if I thought it was a good or bad thing that I left, you're going to think about it no matter what for a little while. It's going to take a while to get going and to get your mind off the other thing. And that you have to just get over. You know, that's anyone going in from business to business. Um, you know, I don't second guess anything. And I was happy that I did everything I wanted to do. You know, I tried every aspect to gain more margin or to gain more customers. And I did all that stuff. The industry just wasn't allowing it. And that's okay. You know, let's move on. Right. And that's it. You know, simple as that. So
But
that's it.
I will say this. I had a friend. He had a consulting business, and his whole business consulting thing was he knew the convenience store industry,
Okay.
front and back. He knew a lot of the industry. So he wound up quitting, and then someone called him that knew him from the industry, and they called him up and they said, so what you been up to? And he told him, well, I'm doing this consultant business, and he's loving it. He
That's
said,
cool.
well, what made you do that? He says, easy. I get paid more and I work less.
Yeah.
So he's like, and I have time like you know, you have time to spend with your family. You know,
Right.
he's not stressed out like he was. You know, he can be with his kids when he wants, you know. So
It's
he
huge.
works with his clients, and when his clients need him, they call him up. You know, and then after that, he just follow up, and you know, does presentations for them and does whatever they're looking for, wherever they're missing the boat at, he tries to fill in.
That's cool.
So, but
That's great. It's perfect. You know, it's great.
so then after that, the guy gave him a job. He's like, well,
Okay.
perfect. So
Nice. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm envious of him. That's good. I mean, that's what I got to do. You know, it takes some time, uh, and I got to remember. I'll think of things that I've done in the last business. Already, have thought of things that I've done in the last business to already make my mind at ease this time around, right? So I remember there was days that I wouldn't get calls, you know, on my phone. You talk to any entrepreneur, they'll tell you that situation where you're like, is my phone working? Is that do I have to restart this thing? I mean, like, you know, you're like, you get to this point where like no one's calling, you know, so there's times we have to go through those periods of drought, you know, and really gain traction. So, and that's where I am now. You know, I got my first client, which was really nice. I'm trying to really hone in on him, but I got to get a couple more and then it'll be good to go. So, you know, it'll take a little while and that's okay. You know, so I was a lot more paranoid in my last business in this position, but now I know it's just, you got to stick to it. It's the long game. You know, it's just got to,
oh yeah, absolutely. You got to give it a few years. Absolutely.
yeah,
You mentioned the robotics, and you mentioned these programmers and being like that, kind of like that middle person, you know, for the programmers to the clients. And it kind of, you watch that show Shark Tank, Mr.
yeah,
Wonderful.
love Shark Tank.
Well, that's kind of like how he got started with his first business. So
That's cool.
a programmer created something for a plotter, and he's like, look, I don't want to sell, I don't want to do marketing. You do it, and I'll do the back end part. So, and then after that, they grew it into a business.
That's
So
cool.
they made it into a corporation. So
That's cool.
yeah, there's opportunities. I will say that.
Yeah, there's tons. I mean, right now, right now also I put myself out there to the local colleges, excuse me, the local colleges, and that's helped me gain some traction too. So the local San Diego State University and also the community college, it's called Miramar College. Both those colleges have entrepreneur incubators, and I'm now signed up for the fall semester to be a mentor in both programs.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so it was really cool. Last week, I was in the SDSU program to be on the panel to hear 5 different new companies pitch their company, and there was 5 of us on the panel, and we all, gave our opinion about the product, and those opinions went towards the judges that were managing the whole incubator, and they'll use our opinions to advance them or keep them in the same spot and grow them from there. I also got on board with the community college. Their program, their incubator is a lot more interactive, I should say. So they wanted someone to step up. Their program started yesterday, Monday, 2 days ago. The semester started, and during orientation, they asked the mentor to step up and do a workshop, and I was the newest mentor, and nobody stepped up, and I was like, I could do it. If you want me to do it, let's do it. And she's like, okay. So Friday, I'm doing a 1-hour workshop on how to master the customer journey on a college budget. So I
Nice.
got, I got a good project going for Friday with all the teams. Should be a bunch 20 teams as a workshop. So that should be pretty fun. And just again, I'm meeting other mentors, which are other business owners in the community. And I'm just gaining that connection and gaining trust.
Perfect.
So yeah, those 2 projects are really fun in the sense that I'm giving back, number 1. And number 2, I'm just connecting again. It's really that it comes down to just making connections. That's all you got to do, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you can tell them like, hey, look, I got this video too now.
Yeah,
Talks
right,
about my business and my goals and my plans.
right.
Very interesting how your journey began with the bike shop and then how it took you from one thing to another and another thing, and you just piecing it all together.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm only 37, and people are like, oh, you're getting old. And I'm like, man, I just got started.
oh no,
Like,
man.
right? I mean, like, we'll be lit. I can guarantee, will live to like 120 will be normal, because my grandfather is 99 right now, and when he was born, he assumed that he'd be alive till 55. I think was the average lifespan in 1920, and now 100 years later, it's almost double, right? So we're old. So put it in that perspective. I'm not even 40. I put in perspective that I'm about a third done. So now I've taken a third of my life. I'm going to bottle it up and spit it out in a whole different way, right?
Yeah, and you probably never retire anyway. Once when you're a consultant, you be around forever.
That's right. And that's not me. I don't like. I can't sit. I shut down my business, and I think sat down on the couch twice in the past 4 months. I still don't sit down. Like my wife's still like, you got to sit down sometimes. I barely sit down. I got the computer set up most of the time so I can stand too. I'm always on my feet. I feel like I can really, the blood's flowing. You can get stuff done. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm always a mover, man. I don't think I'll ever retire.
Yeah, as long as you stay healthy and active, especially with technology, the way it's going, especially with all the medical advancements, that 120 mark gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, I just heard I just read, because of tech world, I just read they just tested on a rat some technology, and it lived double the lifespan or something like that. They just had proof of it. So it's out there. They're getting there. And we're young. We got a long ways to go still.
we kind of understand your business and everything, but
Sure.
what would be your goals in a few years from now? Like where you want to be in, like, let's say 4 years, and then after that, where do you want to be? Like, where do you see yourself as?
Sure. I see myself with 4 clients ongoing throughout the year at most. And I would love to work with Well, I would love to work with companies that have big teams, and I would love to be more of a mediator to the point where I find that a lot of big companies have more challenges getting their message across to the team. So, for instance, I would love to work with a team that already has, or say, I would love to work with a company that already has a marketing team in place and a sales team in place, because I find that there's a lot of gaps to bridge between that, and a lot of voices aren't heard. So I would love to go into a company and sit down with each person separately as a mediator and get their opinion about how they feel about the company, what their ideas about the company, what their goals are, and come in as like I'm going to come and basically audit their people, right? And I'm going to see how their company feels. So before even going to the market and sales, I would love to just go in and find out who everyone is and who makes up the team and who makes up the company. The company isn't anything without the people. So you start with the people inside, and then my next process would be them making sure all their voices are heard, and then we get all those plans out. So I believe I'm more valuable as not like I have great ideas, but I think I'm more valuable about making sure everyone's being heard and the communication is the same. Organizing everyone on the same page and being the mediator. There's, I guarantee there's every company out there has internal issues. And I would, it's hard to take the manager and brings, you need to go to the manager's office and talk about it. Well, no one wants to talk to the manager because they could lose their job that way. So you need someone to come in and mediate those things and say, look, this person needs to be heard because of this, and this person needs to be heard because of this. Let's figure that out together. And then, really coming from the inside as a people person and making people happy. Everyone needs to be happy on the team before we talk about how they're going to, then revamp their sales and marketing. Because, when you go in and just say that, you go in, most people go in and say, what are you doing for your funnels, right? What do your funnels look like? What is your email open rate? How long are they on your website? Those are all stats, and that's great. You learn all about that, and that changes all the time. But if you just look at that and then you say, okay, your funnel's not doing this, let's do that with your funnel. It's not really going to be the solution, because if you do this one thing with your funnel, for example, you're still going to have someone call in and be not happy with something, and you're going to get that person that's still not happy with their job, right? So you need everyone on the team to be stoked with what's going on and to be stoked with maybe the sales funnel pitch that we're changing. You need to have the janitor all the way up to the CEO be happy with it. I'm really big on having everyone that's put inside that company has the name of that company in their portfolio should know what's going on with the company and should know that their voice is heard. So I believe I would love to be the person where like they call me because they can't quite organize everything that's going on, and they have a big company with all these teams, and they you still find there's a lot of companies that can't organize and figure out who gets heard first, right? So I go in, I understand all that part, and then we sit down with the great teams and the people who are great at what they're doing, which is creating the videos, which the people are amazing at that, and creating the content. The people are amazing at creating content and getting the right SEO and getting the right links and creating the right emotion. When people are amazing at these tasks, I believe that there's not amazing content out there because those voices are not heard and they're not challenged, and so they're not creating the best content they can make. So figuring out that sense, I would love to just not give them ideas, but make them give me the ideas that they want to use. So that's the person I want to be. I want to motivate them to bring the best out of them, to tell me how they want their sales funnel to be, how they believe they need to be, instead of being like, look, we're swamped, I don't know what to do. They do know what to do. They just can't think of it because they're so clouded.
Right.
Their mind is so clouded. So I would love to be that person, because then that value to that company, that I walked in and a month or two later, I walk out and everyone is stoked to be on the team. Everyone's being heard, and those marketing voices are out there and they're doing the job they need to do. That's what I would love to do, because I find a lot of companies are hiring very quickly and they're doing all these things very quickly, and they need the jobs to be done very quickly, and the deadlines are last week. They're always last week. And
Yeah.
so, and they're being, and no one has the time to do a good job. There's ways to make that improve. So I would love to do that, in the sense where I'm not, I don't call myself, this is the big thing, I don't call myself a marketing and sales expert. I call myself a marketing and sales specialist, because the specialist part is that I want to be, as they say, here's a good quote, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I don't know if that's a good quote for you to put, but I want to be the dumbest person in the room. Here's why. Is because you want to have a great team around you, right? The
Right.
CEO needs to be the dumbest person in the room. The person that owns the business needs to be the dumbest person in the room. It's it. If you're not, you haven't had the correct team to do those amazing things for you.
Yeah.
You still
Right.
haven't picked up the slack, right? So I want to be the person that just brings out the best in that team. And that's the specialist I am. I'm not an expert at what they do. They're the expert, right?
Mhm.
I would love to work with a team. So right now I'm trying to get on board with companies that don't have a sales and marketing specialist or person, like an expert. So I will man that position. But what I'm doing for this particular business intelligence platform project I'm working with right now, this consultant guy that I'm working with, what I'm doing is designing a program that once he gets big enough, he can implement that system right away and hire a specialist or hire an expert, and they'll know exactly what to do because we'll already have the documentation ready to go. So I told him, I'm not in the long game to be your sales and marketing guy. I want to be the guy that designs it. So when the next guy comes along, it's just turnkey. He comes in, he knows exactly what to do, or she knows exactly what to do, and it's good to go. You got your sales process, you got your marketing process exactly the way he wants it, and the way he wants his product to be sold. So doing that for a startup would be what I'm trying to do now. And the end goal is creating that process in place, because he's not going to do it. He doesn't have time to do that. I would make that process so it's ready to go. He's ready to scale quickly once he's ready. And on the other side, I would love to work with companies that already have that team in place, like I was getting detailed in, and really just talk to the people, because all the time you'll find that these people are experts at what they do and they just can't get their message out there. So that's the two facets I want. I want the startup to create their process, and then also the people that have the process to fix that process.
For the bicycle business, you had employees. Do you see yourself having employees again? Or are you kind of like, no, I don't want to explore that anymore?
Good question. It's a really good question. Right off the bat, I'd say no, but I would, if I got to the point where, say hypothetically I gain enough traction where 10 people want me all year long, and I can't do 10 people. That'd be crazy. Maybe I could, but in my eyes, I couldn't focus on 10 people. What I could do
Mhm.
is outsource a content guy or girl, or outsource a video person, and outsource someone to organize everything I'm doing. And then all I have to do is talk and communicate with these 10 companies. So if I had to, like if I got to the point where I wanted to onboard some more clients, I would definitely just outsource that service. I don't think it would be lucrative for me to hire more employees. I don't think it's feasible. I had experience with it, and it's challenging, because I've been an employee too, and it's easy. It's easy to play the employee card, and when you don't have we don't have your skin in the game, and you're just an employee and you're getting a check every week, or every 2 weeks. You
Yeah.
play the employee card, so you're not going to get them to work as hard, and they're costing you a lot of money. And what you forget is, a lot of companies forget, is the bigger your company gets, the more time you have to spend with the people. And that's what the challenge. They give these people, like, free food and coffee and places to sleep, but it's great, but they don't need that. They need someone to talk to them. They need someone to hear their voice. And a lot of companies just be like, hey, here, it feels like home. Well, now you're at home, but now it's even less of a chance that CEO's calling you and talking about your life, because you're not in the office where you can just be like, hey, come on into my office, right? So I think it's more of a challenge to make sure people are okay and their voices are heard, and they're loving your company. You have to. I had a small company with a handful of people, And every month we had an automatic email that would come through to me. Separately, I had an email with each employee. It was automatic once a month. It was a one-on-one automatic email that came through, and it would remind us that it's been a month. Let's go outside and chat. And we would literally just stand outside, and I wouldn't talk about business. I'd talk about them, make sure they're happy and life's good and what's going on. Because, you talk to your employees when they come in, how's your day, whatever, but it's all kind of fake in the most part, yeah, come on, when it comes down to it, it's pretty fake. What did you do last night? Oh, I had fun, blah, blah.
And then they cut you off. It's like, oh, that's great. Hey, what about this report that came out yesterday?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you find that
I think I've been there, done that.
you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So my employees loved it, and they never got that respect from anywhere else. Getting paid minimum wage or getting paid a lot of money, no matter what you get paid, your employer doesn't talk to you enough. They send you to HR. Great, go talk to HR. Well, they're generic. They're going to just tell me what the book says. They're going to read the book, and that's what HR says. HR might as well be a person with a book. They are a person with a book, but they're not much more than that. They can't give you their opinion. They're HR. They're not trained to give you their opinion. So what are you left with? You're left with HR that's going to talk to you, and then you got this, your boss or something like that doesn't, it's supposed to talk to you. The boss is trained to talk to you, but honestly, they want to. Most of the time, they do want to. They're not bad people, but they don't have time. They have this. That's not a profitable thing for them, is what the challenges that they see. So they're not spending the time talking to people, but that hurts their bottom line more than anything else. So having them see that and having me just come in and say, look, I'll deal with that. Let me just deal with the people. We'll get this thing going. You keep doing what you're doing. I'll update you as we go. Great. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. You pretty much said that you will not hire employees. You do kind of like outsource the employees.
Outsource. Yep.
Yeah.
Outsource.
So either that, or you just have contract agreements between, it's what it sounds like, you have like your programmers on this side, and then you have your contracts with your clients on this side. So, and then after that, whatever you can handle, you can handle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because a lot of small companies don't have programs. So yeah, if I was to, I had a very small company, a good friend actually, just last month. I did a really small project for him. He came to me and I said, look, what do you need help with? And he said, I'm trying to just figure out a situation where I can see what projects I have in the shop. He's a small manufacturing company, 3D printing and CAD printing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he just needed a flow chart. And he was using a physical Kanban board in the shop. He had like printed out cards on the wall. And I was like, dude, let's get you digital, man. So I first thought I was going to program something. But like I said, with the research I did, there was a solution with his concerns in play. So I wrote down all the things he wanted in a Kanban board digitally, and I found 20 different Kanban boards and used them and continued to use them to find if I was solving all the solutions, checked all the boxes. I found one that finally checked all the boxes. I implemented it to his business. He's using it now. So I would love to just do those small projects too. There's just the simplicity of business owners don't know where to start when they're like, I know what I need. I just don't know how to get there with the organizational part of it. And I can help them with that. There's a lot of programs out there to do that now.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, this is my favorite question to ask, and it's, what mistakes have you made and what have you learned from them throughout all these experiences?
Yeah, good question. I guess one thing that comes to mind that I just touched on earlier was not having an exit plan. I think that's a big one.
Explain that a little bit more. Explain that. Why is it important to have an exit plan for someone that's watching this video? Be like, aha.
Yeah, because in a business plan, it says, you see the business plan templates, right? And you look at the templates, you look at the sections, and you see exit plan, and you're like, huh.
I'm not exiting.
Why would I think about an exit plan when I'm building it? You're creating this business plan, and it's so exciting. And then you get to the exit plan, and you're like, I don't want to create an exit plan. I'm just getting it. Why would I want to do that? But what it allows you to do is be your own devil's advocate. So, you have this like grand scheme of things, and you have this grand scheme of the solution, and how exciting it is, and you get everyone on board, and you're going to influence everyone. And you have to understand when that's going to stop. Is it going to stop? And when's it going to stop? And how's it going to stop? Right? And you need to ask those questions before, because, and you need to get other people's opinion. You need to really, and it's not just the market research is huge for business plans, but you got to get someone to sit down and look at your business plan and say, is my exit strategy look right? Because if it doesn't look realistic, then you got to rethink it. Here's the thing. You have to understand that if something goes wrong, like for instance, I didn't foresee the industry margins go down that fast. I didn't foresee the cost of employees going up that fast. I learned, but you can't see that 7, 8 years ago. I saw it going up, but I didn't know it was go up drastically. If you look at the Amazon sales, it's like straight up in the cliff, right? So, people assumed it, but you don't really know it until it happens. You can't tell the future. So I challenged myself in a way that my exit plan should have spoke of that. What happens if I can't afford my employees? What happens if my margins aren't high enough? And
Good point.
how am I going to make do of it? So I didn't have a plan in place that when those went sour, what do I do? So knowing me, I went and I'm going to figure it out. That's what I do. I figure it out. But I didn't have anything in writing. And me being very documented, I like data, I had this blank thought, like, why haven't I thought about this? I knew I wanted to get out for a while, but I never thought about how. And when you get in this, you got to understand what it's doing for you. Here's a big thing. Okay, so number one, no exit plan. That's a big mistake. And what I learned from that was I'm creating an exit plan. The exit plan now is that here's my goals. These 4 employees. Here's my goals. These 4 clients, and I have time with family. If my goal does not take off for some odd reason, and I'm sitting on the couch all day and I'm not doing, my hustling,
Right.
What do I do? I'm going to have to, my exit plan is going to be an employee as a manager in a retail location. That's my other choice. Do I want to do that? No, that's what powers me to do this. So it makes it work. So, your exit plan almost charges you in a sense where, if that's your other choice, then you got to make this thing happen. It's also going to be realistic to what your business can and can't do. So I was at wit's end when the employee costs went up and the margins went down. So I didn't put in place what I'm going to do with the company when that happens. So I found out I was able to liquidate better than sell it. It was more lucrative that way. But not having it on paper and not really having even if the exit strategy is different, because every business plan changes year to year.
Right.
Just even looking at what you thought 10 years ago or when you started it, you should really think about it, because it's going to make you realize what you thought about when you thought your exit strategy was what it was 10 years ago. I didn't really even put one down. I made a huge business plan, but the exit strategy, I remember laughing at it. I was like, whatever, I'll figure it out,
I don't need one of those. I'm going to be for a long time.
Right. So here I am, with the exit strategy. Another, that I think the number one thing is exit strategy, because you're asking yourself those hard questions. You're really being true to yourself. It's the person that's, addicted to a bad substance and they're being true to themselves. You're addicted to this new business and you got all these positive things about it, but you got to be the devil's advocate and ask yourself the hard questions, and
Absolutely.
you got to listen. So that's number one. That's a big lesson I learned, and that's what I'm doing now, being realistic, about everything, which I've always been, but more realistic now with the experience I've had. Another lesson I've learned.
Before you go on to the next lesson, do you have an exit strategy for the consulting business, or?
Yeah, the exit strategy with the consulting business is if I could gain the handful of clients and continue them till my kids are out of college. Then I will step away from it and do more, volunteer work. You know, uh,
Interesting.
that's I would like to retire in this position. I don't see myself doing anything else. I love doing stuff new every day and being challenged to see if they're gonna like what I do. And that's what gets me going every day. So the exit strategy is continue to do this throughout my whole life because it's going to be this career that allows me to do something different every day. I'm
Yeah.
never, every month I'm not sure if that client's going to still hire me in the next month.
Right. And you're not tied down as much either, you're more flexible. Like if an opportunity comes up for this, you can explore it. You could try it out. So,
Right. Yeah. Keeping your doors open is huge. And I couldn't do that with the brick and mortar. I was there every day and it was hard to hire someone with the employee costs to do those things, to step away from it. That industry doesn't allow it. Every business owner I saw that owned a bike shop, when they step away from it, their business goes down because you can't really hire someone good enough for that. The person that's going to be good enough for that is going to get paid more managing a car repair place or a car dealership. That's the same type of person you're going to get. And then that skill set is across the board needed, but that industry pays more, and that's the same. So that's the same person I needed, and you're not going to get that with the you get in the bike world. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah. So yeah, having that availability that I'm not stuck into the day-to-day brick and mortar, which is a dying industry. I feel empowered to really bring that retail space online, and that's really exciting right now.
So what was that second thing you learned?
The second thing I learned uh, is really focusing on your expenses. In business, once you're in business, everyone wants a piece of you, and they all want to sell you something. And a lot of the stuff is good. And as a business owner, when you make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money. And when you don't make a lot of money, you don't spend a lot of money. And I think there are a lot of tools coming out now that changes that. So the lesson I learned was really the beginning years. I was doing more crazy things with expenses. And through that time, I look back, and the last few years I did really well because you start to see a pattern. So, for instance, I didn't wait for the pattern to happen. Every business has a pattern. Like there's a busy time and a slow time, and in your busy time, you really should save money for your slow time, and you should continue to spend evenly throughout the year. My challenge was learning how to do that on my own with no one teaching me. So towards the end, I really had it going. I had, last 3 years, I take the summer and I go, look, this is how much we make in the summer. This is how much we need in the winter. Let's get that in the bank. Let's get it going. These things you think are kind of intuitive. You're like, oh, you shouldn't spend this much for this. But when a business gets so big and you feel the money coming in, you just feel so happy about it that you're like, oh yeah, I could spend here and there and there and there. And you have debt. Every business has debt, and it kind of goes up and down, and you just monitor it. But that's all you do. You just continue to monitor it. And it wasn't ever what you really got to do is sit down and say, how much can I spend so I can pay this debt off? Businesses assume they should always be in debt, and that's great because having debts, it's okay for tax reasons and stuff. But if you're going to grow, it's a double-edged sword. You really can't have that debt continuing through that business evolution. You don't really have that money to grow. You're continuing to borrow to do those risky changes. So starting out on doing your own bookkeeping, I was doing my own bookkeeping, but again, I was spending a lot, and I was spending a lot. It was a challenge of figuring out how to balance it out. And it took me a few years. It did take me honestly a few years to balance out how to get that all working together. And it did help doing my own bookkeeping. So the lesson I learned from that was look at the books. to be doing those things and finding those holes. That's really where that lesson came towards the end, because you saw the pattern of when it was busy, when it's not, and you could really sense, when it was busy, you'd hold back. After being in business for 10 years, it's busy, but you're like, there's times where it's not going to be. You only could spend this much. Let's just spend that much and call it a day.
Right.
So if you have a $3,000 day or $30,000 day or $300,000 day, you want to spend that much. You're like, oh, I just want to spend that much. I want to buy awesome stuff with it. Right? I mean, as a business,
Right.
start making all that money. That's where a lot of business owners fail, in the sense that they get caught up in it. So I got caught up in it, but I saw myself, getting caught up in it, and I learned towards the end. It took me a while to manage that income and outcome
Right.
by myself. When you have a team, CFO, CEO, COO, or even just a few, even if you have a partner. I didn't even have a partner. If you have someone else to be like, look, don't spend that, that helps. It's an incentive. If you're there by yourself with 100% of the equity, that's amazing, like I was. But the double-edged sword of that is that you don't have everyone coming in and saying, look, you shouldn't spend that this month. Whereas I was like, I'm going to spend whatever I want. This is my business. So that lesson I take home.
Yeah.
I take to heart now, and I'm much more frugal, in the sense that I need to be my own devil's advocate with my expenses and my new business, and not ever get in that position again where you're just because it was a very inventory based business, so you do have to bring on that debt to bring the inventory in, but it's a never ending revolution of this debt and inventory, so it never gets better. So the sense is that in that business doesn't work, but any business, you really got to look at how much you're spending, because you get caught up in how much you're making and you want to spend more. So that's a big one.
Absolutely. So from what it sounded like, more like budgeting yourself, like as that income is coming in to balance your expenses.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
not to go crazy with it.
Yeah. And even like, this guy I'm working for now, he's a consultant. He worked for $20 million businesses, and they still don't have their expenses figured out. Right. So, right. So, I mean, I was under $1 million a year, and I had challenges. And you look at people that are $20 million, $50 million, they still have challenges. So all sizes of business. I have a friend that has a $250,000 a year business, little coffee shop. He still has challenges. It's anyone. So I think outsourcing that part of it is really a bad thing. And you really got to sit down and look at the numbers all the time, and have people help you look at the numbers all the time. I'm really good at looking at numbers, but not by myself, and either is anyone else, right? So I would love to help people look at their numbers, because feeding that feedback from each other is what feeds better financials.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs out there don't even think about that, and there's probably thousands of entrepreneurs doing the same thing that you was just talking about. They see all that money come in. Oh, honey, payday, let's go.
Right.
So, how could someone get in touch with you if they are interested in your consulting services?
Yeah, sure. Made it easy. It's my first and last name, Stu, S-T-U, and then Clott, CLOTT.com. Simple website, straightforward, tells you what I'm about, and then my contact info is in there. You can also reach me at learn@stuclott.com.
Perfect. And I'll have a link in the description as well with the website, and not the email address, because you might get all kinds of robots. So I'll add the link to his website in the description below. So
sweet.
Anything else you would like to share? Anything else you would like to talk about? You gave us quite a bit of information. So is there anything that we didn't touch base on?
This was great, man. This is wonderful. I appreciate the time you spent, and I appreciate you doing this for other other owners and other business owners. It's a great way to connect. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's all I'm trying to do it myself. I mean, I think it's the best way to connect because you could post it and I could post it, and that's the fascinating thing about affiliate marketing. You know, it's a free advertisement. Google will love us, you know, if we do it together. So,
Right.
you know, both those things. We're hitting so many birds with one stone. It's out of control when you do the video interview like this. I really love the platform, and it's just friendly. It's fun. You know, I like it.
Plus, I get to meet amazing people from all around the world and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Stu, it was a pleasure. So keep us in the loop. If any changes, anything comes up, any new opportunities for you, you know, just keep us in the loop. Come on
I
back.
will.
So
Will, do you do any podcasts?
I do on my
Yeah.
other YouTube channel. I do have a podcast on that one.
What's
So
it about?
it's about like spirituality,
Cool.
raising vibration, that type, enlightenment. Since you mentioned enlightenment earlier,
That's
so.
cool.
But yeah, I work with other light workers, spiritual individuals on that one. So very similar, like video collaboration, help them grow their YouTube channel, grow their audience and
That's
customers.
cool.
So
That's great. Yeah, if you want to chat, like I love just chatting. I think you'd be a good person to chat with. You know, learn about you more this next time around, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So um, yeah, anytime you're ready. You know, I don't have as much to share as you do, not that I know of.
I'm sure you do. I mean, you know, we all got to this place somehow, right? You know,
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I mean, we all have our own assets, and that's what's fascinating. You know, we don't have to come from a lot of business background. I mean, we've been alive same amount of time, so I mean, I think
Yeah, yeah,
we have a lot to bring to the table, and it's fun to just learn new things from people. And the
yeah.
spiritual thing would be really fun to learn more of. My uncle is into the meditation. First uncle. So he talks a lot about how the meditation, you know, resorts to business sense and life and all that stuff. So I love that part. It's
It
cool.
almost goes hand in hand too, because if you think about certain individuals like Steve Jobs, you know, like
Yeah.
he didn't get into up there into his business until he went on the Himalayan mountains.
Yeah.
So, or he went out there with the monks and stuff like that, and he came back and he's like, I got to do this. We got to do this, people. Like, you know, and it's like, how did that connect? You know what I mean? Like, how did he go off on the spiritual path with his buddies, came back, and was like, we got to build this amazing company.
Yeah. That
So,
was a great book. I'm sure you read that. It's probably you read it for the book. Yeah.
I, well, his documentary, it was a video.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
did not read his book.
He's good. He's a brilliant guy. You know, brilliant guy. A lot of brilliant guys out there, and women. You know, it's really, really good to see. But also just like the everyday people, like me and you, man. There's a lot of stuff that we can give to the world.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah. My whole thing is like just working and collaborating with different individuals, you know, from different walks of life, whether they're entrepreneurs, health coaches, business coaches, starting up their business, you know, even talking about their great awakening, you know,
Yeah,
so that they had, you know, so, but that's kind of like my thing in a nutshell.
that's cool.
So,
Right on.
all right, cool.
Well,
Well, we knocked out 2 hours, man. So
it went quick. I get right on time because now I have to put my kids to bed.
nice, nice. It always goes quick, man. That's why I told you. I said, no, we're going to at least get an hour and something. So
Yeah, I could talk all day. I could talk all day.
perfect. Well, you take care, man.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with everything. Congratulations.
You too. You too. We'll chat soon.
Yeah. Take
All
care.
right. You too. Bye.
Bye.